there. So are you thinking about moving to Arvada, Colorado? Well, that's exactly what this video is for. In this video, I'm actually going to tell you why I personally chose to move out of Arvada, Colorado as soon as possible. Let's get started. Lee here, and I am a local real estate agent in the state of Colorado, but more importantly, I am a native of Colorado. If you're new to my channel, all of my videos are catered to my most favorite places to live, to move, to bring your kiddos, things like that. So if that's something that interests you, please click that subscribe button right there. That way you are notified every time I have a new video. All right, so today my video is going to be on why I actually couldn't wait to move out of Arvada, Colorado. While it is really cool now, there are still some areas or reasons, I suppose, that you should be concerned about, or at least you should know why I personally moved out and why other people are actually choosing to leave Arvada, Colorado as well. All right, so to start off with, I did live there for a good 20 years, so I do feel like I do know this area very, very well. My mom actually grew up in that area as well. My grandpa still lives there, so I do frequent Arvada quite a bit. So some of the biggest reasons on why I personally moved out of Arvada is because back when I lived there, there really wasn't a whole lot to do. I mean, I don't know, like I felt like we were always having to drive like a long ways, which I mean, relatively speaking back then, but I mean, I don't know, like 15 minutes or so just to get to a restaurant, because Arvada just didn't have a whole lot of restaurants. You know, they definitely didn't have any retail as well. There just wasn't that kind of stuff to do. I will say though, since I've moved, that has absolutely changed. Arvada has completely revamped its look, its amenities, its conveniences, and now they've actually, upped its, status, I suppose you can say, added a bunch of restaurants all over the city of Arvada. There is definitely a lot more retail that you could utilize all over this city as well. You just definitely don't have to drive nearly as far as what you used to have to drive to. Old Town or historic downtown Arvada became really, really cool. When I grew up there, honestly, it was pretty crappy. You never really went there for any reason whatsoever. I think there was a few shops maybe you went there for. Now it's really cool. I mean, you have restaurants, boutiques, breweries, wineries, whatever, all up and down the historic downtown Arvada area. So that gives, obviously more conveniences as well. And then also the light rail has now came to Arvada, which took forever, like forever, ever. Finally, the light rails actually goes into Arvada. So that also allows a lot of people, if you live there, to get out easily. So you could go downtown, you go to the airport, you could go wherever just by the light rail. So that is also another great thing that Arvada has, created within its city since I've moved out. Another reason why I definitely did not like Arvada and I couldn't wait to leave is the fact that it just seemed so old. I guess, I don't know, my mom lived there, my grandpa still lives there. It just seemed really old. And I guess now looking back, I guess that is kind of a cool thing, especially since the mid-century homes are definitely becoming a really huge trend nowadays, and Arvada definitely has that. But back then they didn't have a whole lot of new construction, and that's definitely changed as well. So 20 years ago or so, the biggest new construction homes were going to be in the Westwoods area, which is on the west side of Arvada. And then all of a sudden you have like all of these kind of older homes and mid-century style homes, and then anything in between, a lot built in the 80s and 90s. So those were going to be more on the central or east side of Arvada. Nowadays, there's a lot of new construction kind of all over Arvada, for sure, but definitely on the far, far west side of Arvada off of Indiana. So This whole area is called Candelas. So there's a whole huge development out there, Candelas, as well as Five Parks. So Five Parks is also out there as well. That's off of Sims and kind of in between Sims and Indiana as well. It kind of sits right in between there. A lot of new construction is happening out there. A lot of conveniences out there as well. I mean, I remember driving up and down Indiana and literally there was nothing there. Like, at all. It felt like it took forever just to drive to Superior and Broomfield because it was desolate. There was nothing out there. Now you have obviously a bunch of new homes. You have a huge King Supers out there. There's just, the growth that Arvada is adding to the city is just phenomenal, especially in that specific area. Now, one thing I will say about this area, which I do find to be a drawback for a lot of people, is that Rocky Flats nuclear power plant used to be right off in that area, essentially like right where Candelas is. It was right off of Indiana. It's no longer active. They shut it down many, many years ago. But obviously there was a lot of radioactive activity out in that area too. So people who are moving to the Candelas area or any area surrounding that kind of, location should be aware of that kind of stuff. I do know people who have friends or whatever who worked, their parents worked at Rocky Flats and, unfortunately did get sick. So just know that while they did say that everything has been cleaned up, there's no radioactivity whatsoever, you are going to have those skeptics out there who think that it's unsafe to live out in that area. I mean, you have thousands and thousands of people who do live in that area who seem to think differently. But do your own research on Rocky Flats and Candelas areas, see what you think. But I will say that is a great thing about Arvada is that they have built all these newer homes, but they still have those older homes, the mid-century style homes that have been completely renovated, that are really, really close to the downtown historic area that people are really, really drawn to. So Arvada as a whole is just growing so much compared to when I used to live there. Another reason why I moved out of Arvada when I was able to is I felt like it was pretty far from Denver. Now, looking back, maybe it wasn't that far. I would say it's only about 25, 30 minutes tops, depending on traffic to get into Denver. But, when you're early 20s, I felt like it was really far. So now that the light rail has been brought up to Arvada, that would have been probably obsolete for me to even be thinking about that because I would be able to access Denver so quickly. You could take the light rail out to Red Rocks and see a concert or movie on the rocks. So it is actually, now thinking back on my younger self, I was pretty much wrong about that. You're close to Denver. You're really close to the mountains. Outside of Golden, I mean, you are going to be the closest to the foothills. So if you're somebody who loves the outdoors, Arvada is going to be a great bet for you because you are right off of I-70. So you could head up right to the mountain anytime. And another thing, which I didn't even realize back then, and again, hindsight, is that it's really close to Blackhawk and Central City too. So if you love to gamble or just get out for the weekend and hit the slots, that is right there. So you're talking maybe 30 minutes from Arvada. So hindsight 2020, you don't know what you don't know until you grow up and realize these things. I will say though, would I move back to Arvada? I still would say no. Just because I do like other locations around Colorado or down around the Denver metro area more, but I do highly still suggest Arvada to a lot of people only because it has grown so much since I was a kid. It's almost like they just took everything that was in my mind on the reasons why I moved out and then put them into plan as soon as I moved out, and now it made it an awesome city. So it really is a cool location. I highly recommend anybody who wants that type of lifestyle, close to the mountains, close to Denver, light rail, and then, the amenities that the Old Town offers. And then just, like I said, if you want a newer home, go to Candelas or Five Parks or any of those areas out there out west, because that also gets you really close to Broomfield Superior, and Boulder. So that is my reasonings on moving out of Arvada. Please reach out to me if you do have questions about this particular video or any video that I've made. I would love to help you in any way possible. Please remember to click that subscribe button right there. That way you are notified every time I have a new video. And to the next video, take care.